Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and we're doing Golden Globe predictions. It's a new year, it's a new Globes, and we don't know what's happening. Honestly, I don't know if we're ever, that especially good at predicting the Globes, is anybody? Because they're not super predictable. They can take some swings. Sometimes they go the way of oh, that makes sense because that's kind of the current front runner right now. And sometimes they fuck shit up. And it's very hard to tell what they're doing, especially now. We have the new Globes, which we've only had since last year. We've had the full new Globes voting body. And I mean, last year, the picks were pretty criticky and they actually did align a lot with the Oscars. All the acting winners came out of the Golden Globes, which is actually most of the time pretty true. So I'd say they predict the acting categories very well. Picture categories, maybe even a little more 50-50.
Last year was a pretty predictable Globes, though, except that I think the curveball was Anatomy of a Fall, and that was kind of it in screenplay.
Well, the year was kind of overall more predictable with Oppenheimer being an obvious frontrunner.
And sometimes there's a red herring because the Golden Globes will say, actually, Everything Ever All at Once, we don't care about that movie. And they'll make it seem like there's a lot of competition by giving Fableman's picture and director. And then they're kind of on an island of their own. So sometimes they do island things. And then other times, and more often than not, they have some consensus acting picks. So
it's going to be hard to fully justify precedent or say oh, well, they would do this. But let's just get into it. Let's go with drama picture.
Yeah, I think this is one of the toughest categories, don't you think?
It's hard. Sometimes we try to predict the one that is the most criticky for the Golden Globes, which in this case, The Brutalist would win the Critics Award here. Mm-hmm. But then the Golden Globes go elsewhere and they go with The Fablemans, I guess.
Or Bohemian Rhapsody. That was probably the weirdest one though, right?
That's entirely old Globes though.
Oh, isn't it weird that the Fablemans performed really well at an international awards body and then didn't do well at BAFTA? It's kind of funny.
I don't even know what the Golden Globes are kind of international and a lot of them are also based in the US, so it's hard to tell. But the thing is, in this category especially, they often go with what we would call the perceived frontrunner, the moment frontrunner.
Right.
Boyhood, Power of the Dog, and Fableman's to an extent was sort of perceived this way, even though we knew that it wasn't actually the frontrunner. And they do really well at the Globes, and if they fall off later, they fall off later.
This is why this is hard, because we don't know whether Conclave is ahead of Brutalist, do we?
Right.
I don't think we can say for sure.
I would say that most pundits think that The Brutalist is out front and is winning more critics awards, which makes it kind of easier to see it. There's always a critic award bias going on at this point in the year anyway. But it's very possible that most people just kind of think that Conclave's the big Oscar frontrunner, default frontrunner movie, even though I don't think it is. I could go off of that hunch and say I don't really believe in Conclave. I don't think it's actually as close to Best Picture as some people think. It hasn't won any Critics Awards for Best Picture, and that's kind of, to me, is reflective that not that many people actually think it's the best movie of the year. They just think it's very good and it keeps making top 10s and top 5s, but it's not number one.
Well, I guess they have done it a couple of times where a film has not won many or any critic awards and then gone on to win this with Bohemian Rhapsody. And The Fablemans, I mean, that probably won some, but not a lot.
I mean, Everything Everywhere was sweeping the Critics Awards, and that lost to Banshees, but that was still doing well. Conclave could win.
It's a good point, though. I mean, there is something unproven about Conclave, which is, can it win in a category against something like The Brutalist, which has won many awards? So it's kind of the less proven film. You're taking a little bit more of a leap on what you think it's going to become.
Usually the winner of the top categories comes along with an acting or directing win, right? It's not that often that you don't win any acting awards and you just take maybe screenplay and I guess Conclave could take score.
Well, you don't care about screenplay as a package?
No, I care about it, but I don't think that it's usually just screenplay and picture. In fact, I remember Trial of Chicago 7 we thought would do that. It didn't happen. The fact that Conclave is less likely to win Best Actor and is probably not winning Best Director, maybe that is the thing here. Usually you actually want to win a leading award is usually a good pairing for the Golden Globes. Or directing.
The fact that Power of the Dog, that's kind of The Brutalist, is not.
I feel like The Brutalist, I am leaning that way. I can definitely see a world where it's Conclave, but I just lean heavier towards the other direction. I think that it'll be a pairing with either director and actor, or maybe just director, maybe a score win too. So it's going to win a couple other big ones, I think.
I just see more strength with The Brutalist. I see more people feeling passionately that it's the best film of the year. And like you said, it could get Best Actor and Best Director, potentially even Best Supporting Actor and Best Score. So it can win the most awards, I think, out of any film, unless you want to say Emilia Perez is going to have like a crazy haul. This and Emilia Perez have the best chance to get like a high tally. Conclave's not winning director or actor, so it's going to lose those two prizes to The Brutalist, you know what I'm saying? Unless The Brutalist is like getting fucked, you know, unless The Brutalist is like, it would have to be like no Brutalist, like no The Brutalist. We're going to give Audiard director, and we're going to give, or Sean Baker, and then we're going to give Chalamet the actor prize.
I've seen some who think The Brutalist is not winning argue that like it's just going to be director and maybe score, and then just Chalamet is winning best actor. Fair enough. Like,
I also
that
feel
could
that
happen.
The Brutalist makes sense for New Globes. Like, this is where they can really show their taste. This is a highbrow film. I'm not saying Conclave is in stark contrast to that, but it is probably like the best example. I don't think there's competition other than The Brutalist and Conclave here. I mean, I feel like A Complete Unknown is a dark horse because we don't really know what's going on with it. But
we do.
That might be absurd. Like, it did do well here.
Nah.
But nothing else did well with nominations.
Didn't get director or screenplay. The signs that you're a top Globes contender is always getting screenplay and director.
Okay, except for Bohemian Rhapsody. But again, like that was an exception.
Comedy, musical. Now, I might lean on my point that the early frontrunner prevails at Globes no matter what happens from thenceforth. I think that it is possible that Honora's Boyhood. Boyhood was expected to win like screenplay and supporting actress, picture, maybe director too. It won a lot at the Golden Globes. It won big, cashed out. And then it fell later. And that could happen with Honora. But my feeling is that Honora is enough of a front runner right now that it could pretty easily just kind of walk into the Golden Globes and do what it's expected to do, and then do the same with Critics' Choice, and then we can see from there like what's really going on. You know, Honora could have a really big win with Mikey Madison. Maybe it takes screenplay. Director, probably not, but even the actress pairing, you know, we see that a lot. Emma Stone did that last year. So that's good enough, but I think there are other challengers here as well. And although, you know, pun not intended, challengers is not one of them.
Here's what I'm looking at this category and saying the only film that I think could give Honora a run for its money is Emilia Perez. If Emilia Perez wasn't here, we would just have an easy time. We'd be like, okay, well, Wicked underperformed, didn't get director or screenplay. And these are new Globes. Like last year, I think it's going to get like the Barbie treatment, where it just wins box office achievement. The Substance did great. So that's like the other one you can consider because it got over-nominated. It got every nomination possible, really. I mean, unless you want to say score was in contention, which it wasn't really. I wouldn't say that's a slam dunk for a win here. And Honora is just the most acclaimed film of the year. It's the most accoladed. It's the most in the most top tens. It's kind of like the consensus frontrunner right now, and I would say rightfully so. I mean, I just got the most behind it. However, again, Emilia Perez. 10 fucking nominations. Like, they nominated Honora as much as they possibly could, and they nominated Emilia Perez as much as they could, but like I think it was a more impressive haul. Selena Gomez and screenplay, those were over nominations in a sense, like they didn't need to happen. It's the most nominated comedy at the Golden Globes in the history of their awards body. Although there are examples where you can be the most nominated film and not win the category. I believe Nashville, which was nuts because that got 11 nominations.
Banshees was nominated for 8 awards. That was a fuck ton.
And it won.
Barbie was nominated for 9? Wasn't Barbie nominated for like a lot of awards? Because it got 3 song nominations too. So that was like, you know.
The Favorite was more nominated than Green Book, and that lost to Green Book.
Yeah.
That was supposed to win.
But Emilia Perez is tough because their love for it here is just so different, so off from critics groups.
Right. Wildly
off. That
right.
If the passion's there, like what is the early indicator, I guess, other than like the European Film Awards or something? I mean,
it would really just be going off of nominations. Like I said, nominations don't always get, like, counting nominations doesn't always get you the winner. I just don't know if I can predict Emilia Perez to actually win this category.
A lot of the arguments that I'm seeing, especially in this category, are surrounding the idea that the Globes are this international voting body, and the film with the most international appeal is just clearly Emilia Perez. I get that makes sense. I mean, the European Film Awards went crazy for it. Like, it has European appeal, I guess. Jacques Audiard is big over there. It was a Cannes premiere, so was Honora. But honestly, Honora being like the Palme winning film, that's automatically like international appeal, is it not? that you're like a world-renowned filmmaker on the world stage. All the countries have their eyes on you. It may be an American film, but I don't think that there's a huge bias there. I mean, Emilia Perez represents, I guess, France and Mexico, but like the Globes are from all around the world. A lot of them are actually from South America. In general, people from South America seem to not like Emilia Perez. However, in general, what the Globes taste usually reflects is like the European sensibility, even though the representation in South America is prominent. I just don't see any penalty towards Honora here, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Plus, for Emilia Perez, sure.
I would have to feel like there's more weakness around Honora for me to predict Emilia Perez.
I think a lot of people are anticipating that, like, Honora is actually weak, and people are already sick of it being considered the frontrunner. And lately, like in the past few weeks, when it came on to, you know, demand and everyone was able to see it, people were just less enthusiastic about it, and a lot of people are shitting on it. But that's online. I don't really care. Like, I'm still going with Honora here. Again, Emilia Perez, though, it could win. What could it win? It's probably going to win supporting actress. It could do song, and it could do score. Like, on its best day, it can also pick up score and director, but that's surprising.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It'd be weirder for me to predict Emilia Perez and then it not happen than for me to just go, all right, if Emilia Perez sweeps, I'll just like crawl on the floor. I'll like kick my legs into the sky. I don't want to look like a doofus if I try to do something that isn't going to happen, even though I think it's possible. So I'll just go with Honora here.
Yeah, I'm going with Honora, but I understand the argument for Emilia Perez here.
Right.
All right, best director. So we have Brutalist winning drama. We have Honora winning comedy. It feels like Brady Corbet is going to win. I think that the Golden Globes like the spectacle movie as well, and that's, you know, out of all the movies in this category, that's kind of what it is here.
I really want to look back and see what I usually think is going to happen at Globe and whether it's close to what happens, because I have a feeling I'm just going to be predicting like the number one choices.
We do this a lot, but at the same time, we tried to call like Top Gun Maverick, and it didn't work.
I do think this is going to be Brady Corbet. I think this is often a category that can go a different direction from the Oscar. Emilia Perez and Jacques Audiard does seem competitive here. I don't even know if I would put Sean Baker over Jacques Audiard. I would say maybe Jacques Audiard is number 2.
I agree that he could be number 2. It's a little scary.
I think the spoiler here would be Audiard. Like, I'll predict Corbet. I think I'm most likely going to be right on that. But yikesy, that would be a huge win for Emilia Perez, and then it would certainly win comedy.
I think that Emilia Perez and The Brutalist and Honora seem to be all internationally acclaimed films. I don't think that there's a film like Everything Everywhere that seems to be very much like an American thing. And last year, that thing was kind of Barbie, and that lost stuff. In addition, this year, it's kind of Wicked, isn't it?
Do you think Berger even has a chance? I feel like that film is just not... It doesn't stand out quite enough to win director. Like, his voice behind it doesn't.
They'd have to go crazy.
I want to say, though, I just want to ask, what would you think of The Substance won director and picture?
I think The Substance also has like a very, very long shot case for screenplay. If it won huge at the Globes, I would just be really shocked, and I'd be like, okay, it's probably not going to win like Best Picture at the Oscars, but it's damn well top 5 now.
That would
maybe top 3.
That would just be surprising to me.
Let's just go to comedy actress because we're talking about this. I do think that Demi Moore might be number 2. Probably her or Gascon. You know, in the case that Emilia Perez they go nuts.
Yeah.
But Demi Moore, like, again, if it was classic Globes, I might even say she has an edge just because she has this like celebrity status, and it feels like the sort of classic thing for her to like kind of bring in her narrative and win off of this performance. But, you know, as strong as the narrative has been for Demi Moore, you know, I watched the movie again. I just don't think she has enough to win in that performance.
And as many nominations as she's gotten, as well as she's performed, has she won any awards yet?
Like a couple. But the prevailing frontrunner is Mikey Madison, who just continues to win.
Right.
It seems too easy. It seems like an obvious consensus. And I don't really understand going hard to like deny that to yourself. Like, she's really out front right now.
I should think she can carry it to a win without even Honora performing as well as expected. Because I don't see another strong potential contender here. I just don't. I don't think Demi is... I think people are like getting a little too high off their own fumes when they say that Demi is going to be a win contender. Like, I think the performance does have to work on that level of like, that's the Oscar winning, you know, that's the best performance of the year sort of thing. She's good enough to be nominated, but like, I don't think we're touching wins here.
She's almost kind of gone in the last 25 minutes, and is just kind of either buried under makeup or just kind of screaming and stuff. Mikey Madison, I think, has more of the workings.
We also should go with whatever film we think is winning, comedy or musical. It's the logical thing to do.
It's also logical to go with who you think is going to win the Oscar, especially, as we said, in the acting categories. Like, the Globes line up usually 3 or 4 of them usually. So, I don't know why people are like, oh, I think that Demi Moore is going to win here, and then that's going to be it for her. It's like, that's not usually the case for the Globes. I mean, it has been with, like, Kidman and Ricardo's, but this is the category comedy musical where all the contenders are. We could talk about drama actress.
I want to say this is one of the less predictable categories, but I really have a hard time deciding it's someone who, besides Angelina Jolie.
The best logic might be to just say, hey, you got to go with who is the closest to that Oscar, right? And we know that that's Angelina Jolie. And even if Angelina Jolie lost, it would still be Angelina Jolie, probably. Just because it's the Beatty biopic performance here. If we're talking runners-up, I think it could be Fernanda Torres. And this could be just like the example of the new Globe stepping in, which we had a couple instances last year, maybe just one, maybe just Anatomy and Screenplay, where it was like, oh, fuck, that's a real thing.
But if Fernanda Torres isn't translating anywhere else.
Angelina Jolie's barely translating to critics groups.
She has less of an uphill battle, given that she's an American actress in a biopic, in a Beatty biopic.
Do they care that much? Because who did Jackie lose to? Who did Natalie Portman lose to back in the day? Isabelle Huppert for Elle. International performance. Although Isabelle Huppert was actually getting nominated for the Oscar. Kristen Stewart did not win for Spencer either. So you're telling me the weakest of the 3 is going to be finally the one to do it, just because it's like it's like a kind of classic old Hollywood, like, oh, Jolie was like the big opera singer and she did the Beatty performance. Like, yeah, maybe.
There's not a lot of strength behind Angelina Jolie. Like, I think when, Mikey Madison, like, she's got a whole film behind her that's doing extremely well and she's winning the most prizes. None of these people have films in Best Picture. Like, they don't have a lot of oomph behind them. There's not a lot of padding. They're not safe. No one's safe here. And Maria is a film that gets attacked, and people feel negatively about it. Whereas I'm Still Here and Baby Girl, I would dare to say that they are better liked than Maria.
I'm Still Here especially, buddy. I feel like Baby Girl is actually a little more divisive than you might think.
It's actually surprising. 10% of people think that Fernanda Torres is going to win from the Award Expert app. I could maybe get behind Torres, actually. But why not Kidman and Baby Girl?
I mean, I know that the Globes like Kidman, and they've given her, that surprise win.
It's an edgy performance.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like people who see I'm Still Here are obsessed with Fernanda Torres. And I feel like we've got a room locked in with people who have seen the damn movie.
Fernanda Torres, I don't know what exactly we're going off of to say she's the one.
It's actually, I would say it's a passion argument.
She hasn't done amazing, though. Like, where is her passion? I've seen a lot of tweets go viral about, Fernanda Torres is amazing and I'm Still Here. And that is because a lot of Brazilian people like and promote those tweets. But you don't see it outside of those people on Twitter yelling about it.
After the BAFTA long list snub for Torres, I don't think I can predict her anymore. And I think that you were kind of right in your counter arguments that, like, she's just not actually picking up anything or any steam anywhere. And I'm Still Here. Also, not getting, like, an adapted screenplay long list. Like, I think that's a little telling, too.
There are a lot of people in this category who could just win based on sheer lack of competition alone, but there's not really a reason to go with Torres here. I can just say Jolie is the closest to an Oscar nomination, even though she's had a lot going against her.
Well, because she fucking missed the BAFTA long list, too.
Yeah, I know. I could still say that she's probably the closest.
I think so. I think that Maria missing all of its nominations is a little sus. I just feel like in this category, it might be easy for her to prevail as the big Beatty performance and the actress that is like the most Hollywood royalty, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe Kate Winslet somehow got a boost from that BAFTA
Get away from
mention because she's like the only person who was mentioned, I think, right?
No, Kidman was mentioned too.
If it's a surprise, I just don't know if I even lean towards that Torres would be the surprise. So I'm just going to try to predict accurately and say it's not going to be a surprise. Is that fair enough?
That's fair. That's what I'm doing. I'm safe. I'm cowering to my safety corner.
I really only think there's like maybe a 50% chance Jolie wins. There might be a 40% chance that she's actually winning, but I don't know how to divvy up the rest of the pie.
Drama actor. This one I actually don't know what to do, buddy. I have a feeling that you're going to be more firm in Brody than me. I want to tell you that I'm very worried about Timmy. Brody, we think, is going to win the Oscar off of being fucking amazing. Timmy is great. It's one of his best performances, and he transformed and he became a person, and he did all the biopic things except for cry. They like to Complete Unknown. Like, that movie is kind of surging right now. I guess The Brutalist is also out, but, you know, Complete Unknown has more presence, made some money. It just might be like some kind of conventional wisdom to be like, oh, well, Timmy became Bob Dylan, and like it's time. It's Timothée Chalamet's time. I'm just saying there might be a little bit of a disconnect between like what you think is going on.
That's correct.
And what's actually happening with like the perception that like Timmy's winning the Oscar.
I think Timmy could win because he's playing someone real and he's doing a really good impersonation of them in a superficial way. And then he's also really good. I still think Adrian Brody's winning the Oscar and the BAFTA.
But Timmy might win SAG too. And it would be kind of weird if he only won SAG and didn't win anything else. So I feel like maybe he has to win something else.
He could win Critics' Choice,
and it wouldn't
too.
be like, no. Adrian Brody's winning way too many Critics' Awards for me to say that he's not going to win the Critics' Choice over Chalamet. Like, do you think that Brody could sweep?
Chalamet, I think, is more likely, though, going to pick up an award somewhere. And I think it'll
I feel like that
be
too.
most likely
That's the
to be
thing.
SAG. Because they're little babies who can't sit in their seat for 3.5 hours.
4 wins for The Brutalist is crazy if you're also going to predict that in score, though. Let me just tell you that. And it wouldn't be insane for them to give it picture, director, score, or something like that, and just not bring along Brody and just have it be like 3 wins, you know?
Oh, if The Brutalist took 4 wins here, I think it might become like the front runner for the Oscar, according to general consensus.
Would you take that and say that you should deduct wins from your Brutalist predictions?
Maybe, but I don't know what to do in score. And I could easily see The Brutalist taking like picture, director, actor. It's not hard. I mean, I'm probably just gonna stick to my guns and do Adrian Brody.
Austin Butler won, but they liked Elvis a lot. He actually really is in like sort of an Austin Butler position. Brody is like maybe Cate Blanchett in Tar, like level shit.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm making a change here, and I'm not happy to jump in here and disrupt this Best Actor prediction. But I am just thinking more about how, number one, I think Timmy is a real threat to Brody, and it's not just going to be super smooth for Brody. Yeah. I also look at the Golden Globe winners of past years, and they like biopics. Like, we learn this lesson in this category all the time, where like the Critics' Choice winner, the Critics Group sweeper, is never going to be the biopic performance. It never is. Rami Malek didn't win Critics' Choice. Austin Butler didn't win Critics' Choice. They don't like doing that. They also didn't even give Eddie Redmayne it for Theory of Everything. We always claim to never see this coming, but the Best Actor frontrunner is often like kind of disappointing and just goes through like a really baity, obvious performance. I'm not saying that Brody can't win the Oscar, but I just think here especially, Golden Globe drama, like, it kind of goes to this type of thing. It just does.
A Complete Unknown is a strong Best Picture player, and it has a number of nominations outside of Timothée Chalamet that are going to happen at the Oscars.
BAFTA Longlist proved this as well, that it's very strong, actually.
Very beloved. And the audience scores are great. Like, I was totally wrong when I said that I don't think the audience is going to know what to do with this film. Totally fucking wrong. Right now, at this early stage, I'm gonna say they're gonna split awards. There's no perfect comparison for another year that lets me just definitively say, oh, I think this is going to one way or another. But definitely some important factors here are like the race between Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler. It went with Austin Butler. And, you know, that was despite his age. I think people were saying he can't win for Elvis because he's young, he's never been nominated before, and Brendan Fraser has this career narrative. But of course, another big knock against Brendan Fraser was that The Whale wasn't a Best Picture player and it wasn't loved by everybody, which is like, it's just not like this year where The Brutalist is perhaps a bigger Best Picture contender. Chalamet's got more of a voice going on. It's got more of the transformation going on.
He's playing guitar, he's singing, he's doing harmonica.
Yeah. He also doesn't really have like that younger actor thing against him because he's been a previous nominee and he's been all over just contemporary films that are in Best Picture.
He's in 2 films that are in their drama slot.
Yeah. But Brody, I think, has a better career narrative in that it fulfills like the very specific, you know, career comeback thing and the full circle of him going from the piano lesson to this. I think that's really important. And I cannot decide which performance is larger in terms of which has like quote unquote more acting.
But I think a normie would think it's Timmy. The normie opinion is walking out of A Complete Unknown and saying, oh, he's winning the Oscar, right? Like, that's just what's happening, right?
Sure. I can't tell you with confidence my prediction. I really think I'm about on the fence, but I'm going to just go with the fact that I think it's going to split, and I think this is a place where Chalamet might win. I don't think this means Chalamet will win the Oscar. I think that will be more up to BAFTA and SAG to decide. And it's really hard to know what BAFTA is going to do. I think Critics' Choice is going to go with Brody.
Yeah, my main reason is just I think that we've been in this position before, and this always kind of happens this way.
Should we even entertain Ray Fiennes? Should we entertain that? Like, if as a possibility of, like, Conclave having a huge night?
No.
Take
That's
your
my
word for
secret. My secret is just no.
Comedy actor. This is kind of like actress, but even more so. No one's getting nominated here. Actually, well, maybe somebody.
And the maybe somebody is number 4 out of 6 on award.
Oh, yes, and on Gold Derby, actually. That's very funny, yeah. So are we going to play the game of who's closest to the Oscar? Or are we going to play, like, okay, look, we're looking at this category in isolation, like, who has the most strength, who seems like people will go out for them the most, which is kind of the strategy I took in the drama actress category.
Rosamund Pike and I Care a Lot, I feel like that was similar here, where, who did she win over? It wasn't like a lot of competition.
It was Bakalova. That was a lot of competition, motherfucker.
She was mostly a supporting actress, Bakalova, but still, like, in isolation, that performance actually made a lot of sense. It didn't really catch on to people because that movie had just premiered and the nomination was shocking. But just looking at what that performance contained, and also given that Rosamund Pike had some credibility at that point, and had been around the block.
Weirdly, like, Jesse Eisenberg's number 1 in a lot of places. I don't agree with you. I'm sorry.
First of all, I'm not really considering Jesse Eisenberg for the win either.
I'm not considering him for the win. I don't think that
I don't think
he's generating a lot of passion for, like, getting votes. Yeah, because people see him as kind of doing his default mode. I think they'd rather see a performance that's, like, stretching the actor's talents and range, like, a lot. I really think he's campaigning as a writer. He's being seen as a writer-director. He's not trying to win acting awards for this movie. People are just defaulting into it because his movie's in picture. But do you actually believe that A Real Pain's winning 2 acting awards? Is that what you believe?
I think we can rule out Jesse Plemons for Kinds of Kindness. And Gabriel LaBelle, I think, is like 0. I think he's the very least likely to win. Glenn Powell's number 1. I think that could happen because it's
he's number 1 with what, your app?
He's number 1 with the app. But he's only at 49% people thinking he's going to win. So he's definitely...
I was on the Glenn Powell train for a little bit. It's a huge, like, solo star performance thing going on where he has a lot of range in it.
It's kind of like I Care a Lot. It's the most like I Care a Lot.
I mean, Hitman has not been doing anything this award season. Like, it hasn't really been playing and adapted much either. And honestly, Glenn Powell has only 2 critics nominations right now. Actually, no, one of them is the Golden Globe. So he has literally just that Astra nom and the Golden Globe nomination. Nothing else happened with him. There's one person in this category who's legitimately picking up steam and who I'm currently predicting to get SAG and BAFTA nominated. And it's Hugh Grant for Heretic. Given that I think he's the closest to an Oscar nom, and he's the only one of these people that even got the Critics' Choice nom, why aren't we saying that he is most likely to win this award? I'm saying it. Why aren't others saying it?
He gives a really, really fun performance, really memorable. I thought it was like more likely than other people did. Like, he barely got nominated, according to some people, but I was like, no, he's shown with critics groups that he can get nominated like where you don't expect it, so he's definitely going to get in here. But it's a weird movie to win, isn't it?
No, here's the thing. In this category where everybody's just wrong, we're actually being handed the signs. And it's the Hugh Grant surge. Do you know how many critics noms he has?
A lot.
He has 10. 13. He has 10. Daniel Craig has 16 for reference.
So in other words, he has more
he's not even that far behind
Jolie.
Daniel Craig.
He has more nominations than Jolie so far.
Than Jolie, yeah. So, you know, Sebastian Stan and Different Man, he has 3 critics noms. Like, he'd be a cool win.
Sebastian Stan does have 2 nominations at Golden Globes. Like, can't that be in his favor too? Can't that be seen as something?
Hugh Grant's going much further than the Golden Globe, is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, it's a big performance. It's a juicy performance. It's a Beatty performance. Him and Glenn Powell are top 2. Not Eisenberg. I think Hugh Grant's got it. Like, I'm telling you, we're seeing the signs. It's happening. People are actually like excited about him in the movie, and he's Hugh Grant. He's a big star. Like, what's the problem here?
He is delicious in the movie.
My question boils down to what's the problem here? We're being handed the answer and people are closing their eyes. That's how I'm seeing this right now.
Maybe the problem is that he's just playing a sort of like cartoonish villain.
Okay, what about Rosamund Pike and I Care a Lot? I can understand how you think that's like Glenn Powell, but it's also a little bit like this.
It's kind of like Hugh Grant. I mean, Heretic again is such a non-awards film.
I agree, but it's going far. But it's gone far. It's gone further already than it seems like it would have been.
Okay, fuck it. I'll go with him.
So supporting actor, I think Kieran Culkin is the obvious like current front runner. He's like the one of the moment right now. A Real Pain did plenty well at the Golden Globes. It got a screenplay nomination alongside a bunch of other like Oscar Best Picture near locks, and he's just winning awards left and right. He has more wins than the movie has nominations for Best Picture with critics groups, so it almost doesn't even matter, it seems.
Please tell me how Guy Pearce is doing with critics.
Guy Pearce has 6 wins. I think that he could win in a very surprise way. That would be like that one year. I mean, I keep referencing this year because I feel like this doesn't actually happen that often. But that one year that Sam Rockwell won for 3 Billboards and then Allison Janney won for I, Tonya. And because of the Critics Awards, we all thought that Willem Dafoe was winning for Florida Project. Yep. Which I guess because that movie was like on the cusp for Best Picture, but then like didn't actually get it. Kind of is a little similar to Kieran Culkin maybe. And then Guy Pearce, he would be like the 3 Billboards win, coming along with the lead win that everybody does think is happening. The Allison Janney thing where she won for I, Tonya over Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird was very surprising, I remember. But I think I'm going to have to just go with Kieran Culkin and be surprised if I'm surprised.
I do feel like because A Real Pain, I'm not even considering it as a potential 10 for Best Picture anymore. I just think it's not going to be there. It's not getting there.
It's a potential.
I don't think it's getting PGA. And I would easily throw Guy Pearce into the slot if I felt just a little stronger about the performance. And this is where I'm kind of just basing it on like my subjective, biased opinion about this performance, where I thought, even the second time I saw it, I thought it was fine. Like it wasn't the best version of the character. It wasn't the worst. It was good. I know some people feel passionately about it, but I think what they're really, like, it just helps them a lot that the writing is interesting for him. The character has enough that if he were better in the movie, to be honest, like if this were Philip Seymour Hoffman, he would be winning an Oscar.
I think a lot of people think that he's actually peak. I think some people do think he's peak.
I think if he blew people away enough, we would be giving him the Oscar.
If he wins here, I think that could signal a tide shift, although I feel like Kieran Culkin's performance is still going to win Critics' Choice and is more SAG-friendly. But then BAFTA might go Guy Pearce is what I would think would happen if Guy Pearce won the award. But
I think
maybe
really
Kieran
close.
Culkin sweeps.
I think they're really close.
He could sweep.
I don't know. I feel skeptical about him sweeping, and I'm only like starting to come around to that now. I felt like, okay, he can still sweep like throughout the entire season, but I mean, really, when has that happened without a Best Picture nomination behind you? The Whale is weirdly similar because that was kind of like number 12 for Best Picture.
It's Christopher Plummer for beginners, but also
that's different.
It happens in the supporting actress category sometimes. Like Regina King did not sweep. Allison Janney and I, Tonya was an interesting example also, where somebody who wasn't in Best Picture beat somebody who's in Best Picture. And then on the flip side, that same year, as we said, Willem Dafoe lost to somebody who was in a tight Best Picture movie. People are getting behind Kieran Culkin, and there's a damn good reason. Like, he's absolutely explosive and amazing in the movie. So I'm just going to go with him until proven otherwise, I guess.
I feel like I could go with Kieran Culkin, and I'm just waiting for Pierce to blow up. But I also don't want to like over predict The Brutalist. That would be a crazy good turnout for all those predictions to come true. I can go with Kieran Culkin here. You know, I can even have my reservations if he wins, saying, you know, maybe he falls off at BAFTA.
Supporting actress. I actually feel pretty good about this. Many view this as a Saldana versus Grande race, and I think that's probably right. You know, being the supporting actress in the musical, there's 2 musicals that are in Best Picture here. The main argument I have for Saldana is that in the showdown between Amelia Perez and Wicked, Amelia Perez is winning the Golden Globe showdown. Easily. So I think that she makes more sense than Ariana Grande. I actually don't know if Ariana Grande is winning the Oscar, but even if she is, I think she'll win it off SAG, not the BAFTA, and not this. I also wonder if Saldana may be the sweeper after all, because honestly, the buzz for Wicked, I think, has been a little less gung-ho on critics groups lately, and Ariana Grande has been winning less awards. Like, Saldana has actually caught up and is now tied for the number of wins with critics groups. But even if it wasn't shifting, I'd be like, okay, the Golden Globes love Amelia Perez. Also, this is the only category with critics groups that they actually really like Amelia Perez is Zoe Saldana, because everywhere from picture to actress to director. Like, that movie's underperforming with the critics groups, except for Zoe Saldana. So maybe that actually shows an extreme strength, but I think she's winning here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go with the logic of, if I think the awards body likes Emilia Perez better than Wicked, I'll go with Saldana, and then vice versa. And I'm going to do that with Critics' Choice, too. I think Critics' Choice is going to like Wicked better than Emilia Perez. I think Grande is going to win Critics' Choice. I think she's going to win SAG.
Do you think that there's a possibility for a surprise in the direction of Rossellini or Margaret Qualley?
No.
Screenplay. Usually in this category, you want to predict something that you think is going to win the Oscar. And there are two films that are here that we think are pretty easy, and most people would agree. Anora and Conclave. Sometimes we get not that, like with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood winning, or Trial of the Chicago 7 winning. Also Banshees of Inisherin. But I think those were a little bit more the front runner at that moment.
Green Book won.
Some of those
over
little
the
older
favorite.
examples.
That was crazy.
Belfast winning was interesting. And I remember I predicted that based on vibes. And I don't know why I was right about that. Anora has 13 wins in original screenplay. Brutalist has 5. Real Pain has 6. So it's not the cleanest sweep, but it's big. Meanwhile, in adapted with critics groups, Conclave has 7. Nickel Boys has 6. Sing Sing 3. So Conclave's not like... It's definitely out front in adapted. Nickel Boys isn't nominated here, neither is Sing Sing. I thought like that I would be big on Anora here and just say Anora's winning screenplay. That's like, you know, the big time to give Sean Baker the award. Part of me feels like it's the Globesy thing to go for Conclave in like a Banshees of Inisherin or Belfast way, or I don't even know if that makes sense. I just feel like Conclave should win something. How about that? I think Conclave's going to win something pretty big, and this makes sense, kind of. I don't know actually that Anora is more of like a writing movie, because they do like to award the movie that's just very like righty. Even Anatomy of a Fall, as surprising as that was, certainly fits this. Anora, a little bit more improv-y, I would say.
Yeah, Conclave has that precision and that depth to the screenplay that I think it shares with Anatomy of a Fall. It has layers, it's got complex characters, interesting motivations, and it's really a script that keeps on giving. Like, the more you watch the film, the more it kind of like gives you. And I felt the same about Banshees and Anatomy of a Fall. And I think it would be a really good win. Like, I think this is the strongest element of Conclave, period, is the screenplay. And I think it's going to be a great Oscar win, very worthy. And I think Conclave has some strength with Globes. Just, it got that director, screenplay, acting, and picture. Like, it got a lot of nominations. So it feels like more of a righty movie where the screenplay stands out than even Anora.
We make this argument at the Oscars a lot, but they do often award writer-directors at the Oscars. We're definitely seeing that Conclave's going to win the Oscar, though, this year.
Yeah.
But it is also true at the Globes that the last time somebody won who wasn't the director of their own movie is Slumdog Millionaire in 2008. So it's quite a long time ago.
Yeah,
but
I mean, we could easily see this
just
break because we're going to see a break at the Oscars this year. Like, it's going to happen at the Oscars. So why can't we just say,
alternatively, you could just say, look, Anora is happening at the Oscars too, and that's a writer-director, and that's kind of the award that people were saying that Sean Baker was going to win since he won the Palm.
It helps to be the director because of visibility, like, that you know who you're giving the award to. And it feels like Conclave would win the award just because they love that movie. But, you know, again, like, we're not predicting it to win in its respective category. I think Anora makes sense, but maybe I'm just feeling a little fun today.
I think it's also wise to be a bit spread the love at the Globes, too. This makes sense for a prize for Conclave to win.
All right, international film. This will take exactly 5 seconds to predict. It's Emilia Perez. Stop overthinking it. Stop. It's not I'm Still Here. It's not All We Imagine Is Light. It's okay.
I mean, the runner-up is clearly All We Imagine Is Light because of the director nom. But Emilia Perez isn't just nominated in Best Film and Best Director. It's nominated every possible where. So, goodbye. I don't need to hear this. It's happening.
Animated feature, that's probably The Wild Robot.
I'll make an argument for Flo, but after I make the argument that The Wild Robot has nominations in score and song, usually when you have that, you win. I think Pinocchio had that and Encanto had that. Wild Robot also has the box office award.
You're right that it has 4 fucking nominations, so...
No, I know. I'm predicting it as well. But in kind of a similar way to Boy and the Heron, which I acknowledge had a score nom, Flo could disrupt here. Flo has been winning a lot of critics awards and is apparently the challenger, like is actually number 2 to The Wild Robot for the Oscar, because Inside Out 2 isn't even a thing at all. International people also like Flo a lot. Like, you know, That's got that's got an international lean to it. It's got a little slant to it that I actually don't think it'd be shocking if Flo beat the Wild Robot, even though it would be kind of shocking.
Fine, so, you know, potential spoiler Flo, but, like, you're not going to predict it.
I would actually say Flo has at least a 33% chance.
All right, I would have to yell at you if you didn't go with Wild Robot. Cinematic and box office achievement. This is extremely easy. It's even more easy than animated feature. This is wicked. Goodbye.
The funny thing is that we only have 1 year of precedent in this category, but it feels like that's all we need because the comparison is so damn similar. Last year, a movie won 5 awards, was an unstoppable like frontrunner at the Golden Globes, was also a major box office achievement, and yet something that made more money and didn't win any other Globes except for song beat it. And that was Barbie.
Yeah, but
So
we don't even have an
Wicked
Oppenheimer. Dune's not here. So this is
I know,
just obvious.
but what I'm saying... Oh, yeah, Dune's not here.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
No, we don't
it's more than obvious.
No one will disagree. Let's see. 88% of... Oh, my God, huh? Some people think Inside Out too? No.
This is the prize that Wicked's winning. They're going to keep the category around because the last 2 years, this has given them an opportunity to make Barbie and Wicked speeches. So they're going to keep this category around, unfortunately.
All right, original score. This is competitive. You've got The Brutalist, which is your Oscar frontrunner in my view. It has just a fantastic, very memorable score. Challengers, which has stuck with people throughout the year.
It actually is number 1 with critics groups.
Yeah, so that's
9
strong.
wins.
That could win. Dune Part 2, the only reason I think this is not winning is because Part 1 won.
Only reason, buddy, is the whole thing's weak.
No, I know, but like that, the only reason Dune Part 2 is not stronger is because of Part 1. The
as a
score is
whole, yeah.
insane, but
Not in contention to win. How about that?
yeah.
Not even close.
Conclave, I mean, I think this is less likely than some people think. And I know people
This
are like,
is number 1 on Gold
Volker
Derby.
is now, he's now somebody because he got nominated for All Quiet, he won the Oscar. But, I mean, the Conclave doesn't have like the best score of the year. It's just sort of like coasting.
It hasn't been winning critics awards once again. Like, people are predicting Conclave to win all these categories that like it's just not proving that it's actually getting like number 1 votes. Like, it's very the whole thing with Conclave is that it's like it's very solid. It's a very solid film. You know, it's getting ensemble wins and screenplay wins, and that's about it. And I know it's just critics groups, but I just don't really get thinking that Conclave's a frontrunner for the score. I mean, the entire thing is like in the same key. I think The Brutalist is more impressive, expansive, and intricate and beautiful. Challengers could maybe win because it just stands out so much. I think critics' choice might be more likely to go for it, though.
I think it's Brutalist v. Challengers.
No, I think it's Brutalist for Amelia Perez.
Oh shit, yeah. You know, it's unique because you're giving the score is the musical overall, and that probably has, in that sense, it probably has the most music. But the music in Amelia Perez is also not that much of a standout in a way where I feel like people don't really discuss how great the score is, like, ever.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say, like,
Not
where
hard
the
to say
lines
that
are.
The score is the soundtrack.
I don't think it is, technically. I think
Considered
with La La
original
Land, people
score.
kind of consider it that way because all the songs are original and it's all
Yeah, no, I
composed
think
by
it
the same
is
person.
that. I think that's what it is.
I don't know if it is that, actually, because you can actually listen to... There's 2 separate albums on Spotify, for example. I agree that the perception will be that it's all the score. For most
But I
people,
think
but
that's
maybe
what's
for
going
some people,
on.
there's confusing. I don't know if I can make this argument just because of how they clearly didn't have any problems with Amelia Perez, but that is one of the elements of the movie that people are a little mixed on. Brutalist, I know what that is. I can give you the melodies. Conclave, I can go burn. And then, you know, that's what Conclave is. We know what Challengers is off the top of my head. Like, I don't know what Amelia Perez is. I can't quite push myself to thinking that it's going to win this category.
There are a couple tracks in Amelia Perez that I really like. And in the beginning, like the very beginning, the very end, I'm just leaning towards some not Amelia Perez.
I'm going to go with The Brutalist. It could still end up winning the Oscar. It just takes a little bit more time to get going because people don't know this composer and stuff. But I think I'm just going to go with my, you know, current conventional wisdom, my current intuition, really, that this is like the score of the year. And we think they're going to like The Brutalist. So why not?
Yeah, I can go with The Brutalist here. The Brutalist really does stand out the most, so. Challengers does too, but, you know, that's why I think it's number 2.
And they could go for an interesting pick here. I mean, there have been some serious surprises in this category in the past.
Song is between Amelia Perez and Amelia Perez.
It's so funny how many people think it's Kiss the Sky. And do you know that in fact, it has 2 wins with critics groups, which happens to be the most, because not that many critics groups do it. But here's the thing. The Golden Globes actually don't even like animated films and song. They've done it a couple times, but a lot of the times that the Oscars done it, they didn't do it. And one of those is like Let It Go, like real prominent examples. I could understand the argument of the vote splitting and people not knowing if they should choose El Mal or Mi Camino. And that could be a problem. There's really no way of telling so far. I mean, El Mal has more nominations than Mi Camino, but I've been feeling lately that, you know, Mi Camino actually might be stronger. It has the Selena Gomez factor. It's more of a ballad too, which typically wins like
A ballad?
the Oscars.
How is
and
it a
stuff.
ballad? It's a pop song.
It's like a pop ballad. El Mal
it's
is
not.
like a pop rock song.
No, Mi Camino is like a pop karaoke song. It's a love song.
That's kind of what a ballad is.
What is a ballad?
Like a slower, more vocal centric,
slow?
emotional
Mi
song.
Camino. It's just like a techno-y song.
I need you to calm down. Anyway, El Mal is more of like an energetic thing. Maybe it's the I'm Just Ken, and Mi Camino is the What Was I Made For. The Old Globes, you could make an argument for Beautiful that way.
My best guess is that it's one of the Amelia Perez songs, and I feel like I'm flipping a coin. Mi Camino has Selena Gomez.
That's what I'm saying.
El Mal is Zoe Saldana. And Mi Camino is more of an earworm. It's more catchy.
I'm gonna go with Mi Camino just because it's been my thought as of late that it's actually the bigger contender.
I'll go with Mi Camino.
All right, those are our Golden Globe predictions, everybody. Stay tuned for the reaction video to the Golden Globes happening after the Golden Globes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Are you going to doubt the brutalist or Honora?